Welcome back, everyone. This should be video 2 of what you're watching today. I wanted to go over our next project a little bit more. We've already started talking about the geography of ancient China, but we are going to be working on checkpoint 1 today, which will be drawing on some of the things that we talked about last time we met. So I first want to direct you again to our Journaling Ancient China project. That should be the next active project you see on your platform. I'm not going to go over the final product into too much detail today, but we are going to be creating a series of journal entries about some of the topics that we are going to cover in this project. So each checkpoint you will be essentially creating at the end a journal entry, and then at the end of our project you'll be taking those journal entries from each checkpoint and putting them together. Today we're going to be starting with checkpoint 1, geography, and I'm going to first go through the directions and then talk to you a little bit about this guide to checkpoint 1. So in that I will have some tips and advice and some additional directions on how to best complete this checkpoint. But first I want to start by looking at checkpoint 1, the actual document here. And the very first part, if you remember that 3-level guide we did in class, remember you had to find statements in the textbook, state if they were true or false, correct them, find evidence for some of the statements that you said were true or false, those types of things. That does need to be completed and turned in order to get a green light on this checkpoint. Most of you turned this in before you left on break. Some of you had a few items to complete. So if you did not turn it in yet, please make sure that you do. For most classes, you'll also be doing some fill-in notes and exit ticket work. That also counts in with this 3-level guide. Second period, again, you're already done and you don't need to worry about that portion. So right here, I've put an opportunity for you to highlight either yes or no, just to remind yourself if you've turned that 3-level guide in. I'll be going through, obviously, and confirming that with what you have turned in. But if you haven't, this will be a reminder that make sure that you do. All right, so this checkpoint has 2 basic parts, a little bit of research and then the actual journal entry. So the research you do is going to help you create the journal entry. For the research portion, anything in yellow is a required item. You must do that to pass the checkpoint. Anything in green would be optional, and that's how you're going to earn those higher scores of a 3 or a 4. And I'll go over those when we get there. For your research, I've given you some sources. If you find another reliable source besides these, that's fine, but you are welcome to just use the sources that I've given you. The world history text is what we used for our activities before break. If you look to the right when you open your document, over here, you'll see it listed as a resource. And if you click back to the checkpoints, it's listed right here as your first resource. You are, of course, welcome to grab one of the textbooks and use that as well. So the first thing you're going to want to look at is the geographic features of China. And using the sources, discussions we had in classes as well, you're going to name 3 of the major geographic features in China. So we talked about a whole bunch. Again, look at the maps in the textbook. We had many that we looked at before we left on break. You just need to pick 3. So put 1, 2, 3 in those boxes, and then you're going to describe each one. 1 to 2 sentences. What is that geographic feature? Maybe you'll describe where it's located. Maybe you'll describe what it is. 1 to 2 sentences. And then in this column, tell me what source you got that information from. Again, your brain is not a source. You need to make sure you can trace it back to one of these sources here, or if you found one on your own. The next required part is we are making a claim right up here. The geography of China was important to the civilization's success. So we want to find evidence that helps to support this claim. How was geography important to the civilization's success? What did it do that helped the Chinese people? To give you some examples from our past studies, remember the deserts in Egypt. How did that help them? It protected them. The Indus River Valley in India, how did that help the people of India? It provided farmland for them to grow their crops on. So you're going to find 3 direct quotes that talk about how geography was important. Then you're going to put that in your own words. So this first column is a direct quote, word for word from the source. This is you rewriting that quote in your own words. And I have some tips for you on the guide, so we'll go over that in a little bit. Again, you also want to put what source you got that quote from. Now, if you're interested in earning the 3 or the 4, you're going to make what's called a subclaim. So you've already said geography was important, but your subclaim, which geographic feature had the greatest effect? Which had the most positive effect on ancient China? So in this box here, you're going to be listing or naming the geographic feature that you think had the greatest effect. Down below, then you would find 2 direct quotes that support your subclaim. Why did you say that geographic feature had the greatest effect? This column is where you'll take that quote, put it in your own words, and then tell me what source you got that information from. So that's the research portion. The second part is creating the journal entry. Here's the scenario up here. You are a time traveler from the future who has landed in ancient China. When you land in this new and unfamiliar place, you begin to write about your experiences. The geographic features that you see have caught your attention. Describe what you see and what you learn it means to the Chinese people. So you're going to be using your research about what geographic features there are and how they are important. And you're going to be putting that into your journal entry down here. And I'm going to go over some tips with you on how to set this up and some details you might include. Now, if you go to, again, your platform, there is this guide to checkpoint 1, which is what I'm going to go over right now. Okay, so here's the guide to checkpoint 1. Something that we often struggle with is putting research into our own words. You have found the direct quote, and now I'm asking you to rewrite it. This is something that takes practice. This is something that you'll continue to get better at, but we want to make sure we're really trying to practice this now, and so that it becomes easier as you continue on. So some tips that you might want to consider. The first one here, after you have read the information, try listing, not writing a sentence, just a list, the keywords or the key ideas. No more than 1 or 2 words, in any part of your list, and then try to recombine those and put them into a sentence. You might try rearranging the order that ideas are in, putting things together in a different way. You might try only using some of the details, not all of them from a source. Maybe not everything is important to what you're trying to say. Something that I find helpful is maybe read a section and then look away or close it and try to write the main idea without looking. That'll be a way for your brain to start thinking about, what did I read? What did that mean? And then you'll be actually creating those sentences on your own. You can always talk about it with somebody else, try to explain it to a partner, and again, that will be your way of kind of creating your own words and your own sentences. You can always take ideas from multiple sources and then recombine them into new ways. please, if you don't know a word or a phrase, look it up. If you are writing words that you're unfamiliar with or you can't explain, that's kind of a clear sign that you really haven't understood what it is that you're reading. So make sure you really, look things up and only use things that you really understand. And finally, if you don't understand something, look it up or ask for help. I am happy to talk about stuff and look over things with you if you need the help. Here are a few different links, just other resources to help you put ideas in your own words. You can check that out. Actually writing the journal entry. So your scenarios, you're a time traveler, but you can add in all kinds of creative details to make this more interesting. So I've listed some questions here that might kind of prompt your creativity, things you might consider including. You don't have to, but it will make your story more interesting. It might help tie these journal entries together. I've given you a link down here about what daily life was like, if you wanted to include any little details about people you meet or things you do in your travels. I've provided you some sentence starters for your journal if you choose to use them. You would obviously need to add to these, but these might be some ways that you might start different sections or sentences in your journal entry. And then the 3 cognitive skills that I'm looking at in this journal entry: selection of evidence. If you do your research properly, then you should have at least a 2, if not a 3 or 4 on this. So you're picking evidence that supports your claims. Geographic features that have helped China. Organization, you are organizing things based around your claim. So again, if you're kind of following the template of the research, you're going to be pretty well set up to do well on this as well. And style and language is one we've done several times already. Complete sentences, sentence structure, using language appropriately and using words that fit your meaning the best. So that's it for the guide. So please feel free to go to this on the platform, check it out, look over it. Again, ask me if you have any questions, but hopefully that's enough to get you started on this. And I would suggest working through this as far as you can. If you have questions, add that little comment there. I'll get a notification and hopefully be able to get back to you pretty quickly. And create your research notes and then use those to create your journal entry. All right, so good luck on that. And again, I will be happy to talk with you once I get back to school and answer any questions you might have, but I really look forward to reading some of your journal entries. All right, thanks.